Welcome to Michigan Reimagined, presented by T.A. Forsberg and Wagoner Financial. And here's your host, Chris Buck.
Gun violence shatters lives daily, plain and simple. This epidemic is being met with countermeasures and a groundswell of those who are just not willing to sit idly by. Here to discuss the amazing work of Force Detroit is their executive director, Mr. Dujuan Zoe Kennedy. Welcome to the show, Zoe.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start a little bit by discussing the statistics, kind of talk about gun violence in and around Detroit. You know, what kind of numbers are we talking about here, and where historically have those numbers been trending?
After the pandemic, they had predicted an uptick in violence, and it actually was. When we implemented our strategy through relationship building, community engagement, we started seeing reductions during the second quarter. During that second quarter, we had a 52% reduction, and every quarter after that, we had reductions ranging or averaging 55 to 60% reductions, and the highest one we had was a 72% reduction in our focus area. One of the things that we really try to drive home to individuals outside of the ripple effect of trauma that gun violence causes is the amount of money that it costs the taxpayer. So through research from the Criminal Institute for Criminal Justice Reform, the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform, what we seen was from their research, it cost the taxpayer $1.7 million for a homicide and $1.1 million for a non-fatal shooting. So that's a few of the numbers behind what we were doing. Also, in comparison from one year to the next, from 2023 to 2024, just comparing fatal and non-fatal shootings and the reductions of all the groups, we saved the taxpayer $129 million in costs in relation to that research.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, that's no joke. You know, it's funny. I wasn't expecting to hear kind of the financial impact on that, because clearly the emotional impact and the fear factor and the, you know, having good communities and welcoming and, you know, and trying to grow population and peace and harmony, that clearly is the lead of your work. But the financial impact is staggering. I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, you got to think this is reducing insurance, raising property value. It's bringing tourism to the city. People seeing that Detroit is a safe city. That dark cloud that's been put over our city for so many decades starting to leave. This is not the most violent city in the country, or one of the most violent cities in the country anymore. We had the biggest reduction since 1965. The homicide rate is as low as it's been since 1965. That was historical.
Wow.
And it was an honor to be a part of the initiative and to be actually really impactful in the initiative to having that historical moment.
Right on. So when was Force Detroit founded, and by whom? I saw on the website some information about kind of a backstory, but can you share that with our audience?
Yeah, Force Detroit was founded in 2015 by our founder and then executive director, Alaire Harvey Quinn. He had this vision because of how she grew up, the daughter of two Black Panthers. Her father was in the house when Fred Hampton was assassinated. He was shot. So she was raised to create programs and to engage the people in the community and to create sustainability. She had this vision of funding the work, right? The grassroots groups that were doing the work in the community were not funded. So she put her skill set of organizing and writing to work and started fundraising funds to support the work. She engaged the philanthropic space for the brothers and the sisters on the ground doing the grassroots work. When I got out of prison in 2019, these organizations, all these organizations, I went to one of their meetings, all these organizations embraced me. I became a volunteer. I volunteered for over a year. After I volunteered, she hired me as a community organizer, and then she began to train me as an organizer. Once I was trained and I understood the work, I knew that the work, I had the lived experience, and it's just like, it was like my calling and my purpose. So me and the sister worked shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand, like a brother and sister supposed to, and we were able to have impact because we valued what each other brought to the table. We valued each other's strength, and we learned from each other when we went out and engaged community, and we supported our brothers and our sisters, and we didn't just make it about our organization. We made it about the movement. We made it about the cause. We made it about the people, and in that, we had to organize and advocate for sustainable funding, organize and advocate for best practices, for us not to be exploited by individuals who probably will watch and look at our work, do an evaluation, and then own the intellectual property of our methods and our techniques as it relates to approaching gun violence, but really approaching trauma. Because it's bigger than gun violence. It's a lot of things that go on before a person even picks up a gun or goes look for a gun.
Makes sense. So you guys are a nonprofit that's entering in your 10th year right now. And so what does Force Detroit stand for? Force, I think, is an acronym. Is that right?
Yes, Force is the acronym. Faithfully Organizing Resources for Community Empowerment. Right, so you can see the origins of the organization was to go get those resources so that we can empower community. Now, we are a part of community. We are not separate from it. Most of the people who work at Force Detroit, I believe 70% of the people who work at Force Detroit are from the neighborhood that we service.
And which neighborhood is that?
That is zip code 48228. Neighborhood Franklin Park and Warrendale, and in a philanthropic space, they call it Cody Rouge.
Got it. Excellent. Well, good stuff. I'm looking forward to unpacking more, but I want to give a nod to one of our friends of the show, the Wagoner Financial team. Are you ready to make smart financial decisions? Wagoner Financial offers a proven process for financial transformation, empowering individuals at all stages, whether you're just starting out, nearing retirement, or anywhere in between. Stop feeling unsure about your financial path. Wagoner Financial can help you undergo this financial transformation, so schedule a consultation today to discuss your individual needs and discover how they can get you there by visiting wagoner-financial.com or give them a call at 517-853-3367. So you've talked a lot about Force's work, but one thing that I saw on your website quite a bit was CVI. You talked about CVI being a method. So what does CVI stand for, and what does it mean in practice?
CVI stands for Community Violence Intervention. So we like to use the term community-based violence intervention because it should be based and founded in community so that it is not exploited by organizations who parachute into communities, take resources, and establish corporate settings off community plight. Community violence intervention. Community violence is defined by violence that takes place in a public setting, like in a community or a school, right?
Yep.
That is community violence. Oftentimes, it's by people who live in close proximity to each other. One of the first things historically first times historically that we can say we start seeing this is when immigrants started coming to America, right? These immigrants were disenfranchised, impoverished, oppressed, the Irish, the Italians, right? The Jewish, the Polish, right? All these people, and they began to create these underworlds. And then conflict came because of the poverty, and they began to attack and assault each other, and it spilled over into the community back then. Drive-bys was going on then in the 20s, correct?
Yep.
So community violence really started then. And there were violence reduction strategies in the community back then with clergy, with actual people who had credibility that's from that lifestyle. They just decided to continue to participate in that lifestyle. Now, what this is today is individuals with lived experience who have been educated and informed on trauma and has gone into community with a public health approach to address trauma to curb gun violence. It works like this.
Got it.
Engagement is not conversation. Engagement is you're intentionally having conversations to pull some or extract some information to utilize it. You utilize that to build relationships. You build relationships to gain influence. You utilize influence to promote pro-social behavior. Example, everyone has been, or not everyone, some people have been intoxicated before, right?
Yep.
If a stranger tries to snatch your keys from you when you're about to leave, 9 times out of 10, you may get into a physical altercation with them, correct?
Yep.
But if it's someone that you're familiar with, like a family member or a friend, they have a greater chance of influencing you and stopping you from going out there and driving under the influence. So you're under influence of liquor or whatever. We use our relationships and our influence to stop people when they're under the influence of emotion and they can't regulate it. We're the designated driver. I was talking to a brother yesterday, and I was telling him, oftentimes life is like traffic, right? You have all these stoplights, all these signals, all these signs. Well, these signs come from people who probably got into accidents, who probably realized, man, we need to leave something or we need to create something so that people get to where they need to go safely. And it's something about the work, the foundation of the work. When I talk about the origins, even in this started about 20, 30 years ago. You notice now how the stoplights had that little small arrow on them?
Okay, yep.
At the bottom of the stoplights, you notice that?
I have seen that, yes.
They wasn't around when we were growing up, was they?
No.
Someone decided to put them on there to advance the work as it relates to directing traffic because they seen that more needed to be done. So what made us successful is we took that foundation, those signs and those signals, and we added that extra arrow to it because what we noticed was even though traffic is being directed, it still needs an extra piece so that they can turn.
Okay. So when you go out and engage the community and try to have these proactive conversations, become someone that they know and trust and create a community of people that are looking out for each other so that when they intervene with someone who's about to do something bad, they're being approached by someone who isn't a threat or an additional threat, but actually someone that they might take pause and say, you might be right. I'm going down the wrong path. When you do that type of interaction, what does that look like? Where are you going? Are you going into schools? Are you going into community engagement centers? Are you hosting things at churches? Is it volunteers that are delivering that message, or do you have a big staff that's out there? What does that look? How do you actually do what you say you're doing?
Okay, so we have 26 people on staff. We have administrative staff. We have a programmatic staff. We actually have a staff that does advocacy as well. We utilize, we are from the neighborhood. So it's not, we know everybody know us. So relationship is key. Mm-hmm. We done all grew up together, right? We know people's mothers, fathers. We watch people grow up. So we're utilizing that. That's what we talk about being community-based, right? Also, we know the cultural nuances of this work. So we monitor social media. Law enforcement monitors, responds, and addresses crime. We monitor respond and address disrespect so it doesn't turn into physical altercations where it get out of hand. Are we in the schools? Yes, we are in the schools. We actually have a program in the schools. We go engage the youth inside a lunchroom. Sometimes we pull it out. We engage them in a gym. We engage them after school. We just did a sneaker ball with them. And we gave them the shoes that they like. We didn't give them the shoes that we thought they should have. We gave them Dunks. We gave them Jordans. We gave them Balenciagas because we utilized Maslow's hierarchy to build up that influence by meeting those needs, those physiological needs, those psychological needs, those needs of self-actualization. So our approach is a multi-layered approach. It is a digital approach on social media platforms. We know how to engage on there. We're going to like posts where it's pro-social. We're going to tell you to take down anti-social posts that create conflict. We're going to put notifications on your profile for when you go live, and we're going to hop on your live and tell you to chill out, calm down. We're going to intervene during that. If your home is assaulted, we're going to come get you, move you out of your home, put you in a safe house or a safe space until we can resolve that conflict or mitigate that conflict. It is a multi-layered approach. We do have relationship with some of the churches in the community, but we're further establishing those relationships to really be impactful, because when it comes to public safety, because we've invested so much time and energy studying, learning, researching, implementing, we have to really be responsible when it comes to leading it. We lead the community-based violence work in our community, so it takes time to build relationship with other entities to get them bought into really accepting the expertise in the leadership, because some is new to them. But so far, we've been covering a lot of ground in partnerships with community. That's one of the most important things. We can't be the only ones showing up in community because it's about relationship as well.
Right.
And it's a holistic approach. You have to meet the social determinants of health, not just resolve a conflict. You have to add to the quality of life. You have to add to quality education. You have to add economic stability, right?
Yep.
You have to do a lot of things. So it's a multi-layered approach, and those are a few things that we do and a few things that we utilize. We utilize Maslow's hierarchy to engage and meet those needs.
Fantastic. Well, along those same lines, I'm pleased to talk a little bit about the Michigan Rise Pre-Seed Fund. This episode is brought to you by the Michigan Rise Pre-Seed Fund from the Michigan State University Research Foundation. It's providing early-stage funding for Michigan-based startups. Since 2020, Michigan Rise has helped high-tech, high-growth startup companies achieve commercial and technical milestones through capital formation strategies, talent development, and customer acquisition tactics. With financing options for every stage of the entrepreneurial journey, Michigan Rise significantly increases the impact of new ideas and research. Visit www.michiganrise.com to discover how Michigan Rise can help fuel your startup's growth. Michigan Rise is supported by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and the Michigan State University Research Foundation. So you talked about your work with schools, and you talked about working to penetrate the churches and really get involved there. But what about what does the city have to say, or the police force have to say about your work? Are you still kind of working through those relationships, or are they wholeheartedly shoulder to shoulder with you? How does that relationship look?
So those relationships are strong. I actually introduced the chief of police, Chief Todd Bettison, into his role as the chief of police because of the impact that we've had in driving down violent crime just through building strong, healthy relationships. We have a healthy division of labor, meaning they respect what we do. We respect what they do. We don't compromise what they do. They don't compromise what we do. We are about accountability. law enforcement is here to hold community accountable if they are causing harm in community. We are here to hold community accountable as well, but it is a different approach. Public safety is public safety, but we play the role of public health approach within public safety, right? We are not authoritarian, like we are not an authority, right? We are a resource. That's what we are. We show up as a resource, and our the brothers in the Detroit brothers and sisters in the Detroit Police Department, for the most part, respect it a lot. We've actually trained cadets on what community violence intervention is in a healthy division of labor. We've had officers do restorative circles or restorative practices with some of the young men who have encountered law enforcement in a way that they didn't understand. So I would say that the relationship is very healthy and respectful on both sides.
Wonderful. So who do you partner with to get these funds? I mean, do you have sponsors? Is it, who helps you fulfill your mission in the community?
Good question. So we have philanthropic foundations that fund us, but that's not sustainable. So we've been trying to establish long-term sustainable funding, public funding, and we also been looking for corporate sponsors, big on getting some of these big-time guys downtown to sponsor some of this work, because this work is good for business. Like, it's good for business. When Detroit is safe, Detroit is wealthy. This is a booming city, right? And it shows, because look where we just came from. Look how it just was. Look how quick we got back on track. Like, they were talking about our city like it was nothing. I remember listening to them talk about it, like, just talking like it was decimated.
Yep.
So we have philanthropic support, a lot of philanthropic support, and we look for more philanthropic support to capacity build. We have public support. So Detroit, the city of Detroit, they funded us through ARPA, which is American Rescue Plan Act, which set aside or earmark money for community violence intervention. Our local government, city council, along with the mayor's office, set aside something in the general funds for our work to be funded this year after ARPA runs out. But currently, we're pushing bills in the state legislature for funding in perpetuity. That means funding forever. That means, imagine this work. Imagine, like, I talk about, like, immigrants. You know, the fire department was started by community members putting out fires. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, just all volunteers.
That was started by community members, right? And now it's a whole department within government that takes care of community. And that's what our goal is, to create that for community-based violence intervention. When you have these things in place in school, one of the main things is identifying trauma, engagement. You sit back, you're trained to see, to be hyper-vigilant when it comes to trauma, because you've been through it, you've seen it, you understand it, right? When you see these type of things, you can go engage a bully. You can go engage someone who's getting bullied, right? Because like I said, it's no different. Getting picked on is getting picked on. Being bothered is being bothered. Being upset is being upset. Going to extremes is going to extremes. No matter if it's on a corner in the community or it's in a hallway inside of a school that's in the community. It all stems from trauma, abuse, and the mismanagement of emotions and the lack of skill set or the lack of or neglect of a person being abused and experiencing trauma. Community-based violence intervention is a method to address trauma strategically and aggressively, or not aggressively, relentlessly.
Right.
To build that relationship, to mitigate that before this person really causes harm to the community. And we don't understand, like a lot of people don't understand this work. One of the stigmas of it is just black and brown. No, this is something that is healthy for all our communities, right?
Yep.
For all our communities, because violence operates like an infectious disease, right? Someone, like you can look at COVID. Someone sneezes on you, you become sick with violence, right?
Yep. I hear you.
And
I don't disagree.
You can't lock a person away you can't lock a person away. You can't. Stuff has to happen where you have to quarantine that. But even in quarantine, or even when that was going on during the pandemic, you still got to treat that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You still have to treat that effect. So it's an approach, and you really want to get to individuals before or while this is going on and intervene in that trauma, because violence, it isn't just about gun violence. Violence takes place when somebody starts being affected and abused in a way to where it causes trauma.
Yep.
And from trauma comes extreme behavior.
Yeah. Preaching to the choir. I hear you. And you're doing such fantastic work. And Zoe, I got to tell you, we're getting up against the clock, but powerful conversation. Couldn't applaud the work you guys are doing more. And just really grateful to have you on the show and tell us how things are working out. So can you share with our audience as we finish up here how they can get in touch with you to learn more? Website, social handles, phone numbers, that kind of stuff.
Yes. Our website is www.forcedetroit.org. Our social media handles or profile is Force Detroit. You can reach me, Dujuan Zoe, directly at 734-366-6493. It's a pleasure being on your show. It's an honor. I appreciate you having me to talk about this great work, to share this great work, and to let everybody know that this is something to address the social ills that create trauma.
Right
and
on.
Making sure that trauma doesn't spill over in community with gun violence.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for everything that you do, and it's been a real honor to have you on the show. And I'd love to give a final shout out to my loyal sponsors, Forsberg Real Estate, Wagoner Financial, Triterra Environmental, Good Marketing, Keller Williams Advantage and Team, Michigan Rise, and the attorneys at Foster Swift. All fantastic people worth the call. And if you found the show as a one-off, I want to remind you to follow and subscribe to Michigan Reimagined on YouTube, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts. Chris Buck signing off for Michigan Reimagined.